Welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to start on page 197, which is CSS. We've talked about that a few times. Now we're going to actually do a few more things that's going to format the pages, some of the tags. We're going to create some anchors, and we're going to do a few things that should hopefully start clearing things up for you right now. So we're going to open up page 197, and we're going to work on the permanent exhibits page over here. If you look on the top of 197, basically it says that we're going to define CSS, which is going to format some of the elements, which are going to be headings, paragraphs, and links. We're going to change colors. We're going to put some margin and padding on. We're going to set the font size. We're going to list the links of users to jump to in there, and that's really very easy to do. We're going to format the rollover, which is what's called a pseudo, and we're going to format specific elements that in certain areas of that. So it's not as hard as it sounds. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. So the very first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go to the CSS designer, and I'm going to click on a new selector. Make sure that you select the museum styles. I'm going to click on a new selector, and I'm going to type in H1. Hit the enter key twice, and that allows me to format the way the H1. It's important to remember that will format and make changes to every H1 tag in your entire site. However, the good news is you can make this specific to a certain area of your web page, to a certain tag. You can make it only affect H1 tags that are within a certain other tag. So it's unlimited. The control is totally up to you. But for right now, we're just going to strictly going to take care of all the H1 tags. So I've created a new selector. I'm on page 198 on the very top. What it wants us to do is change the margins. It's important to understand that there are a lot of things that affect margins that looks like you change something and nothing happens, and that's because another element is affecting it. An H1 can be affected by a P, it can be affected by a H2, and you'll see that in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the margin on all four sides to 0. The easiest way to do that is just click on Set Shorthand and just type in 0px. And notice that it changes them all. And also notice that this jumped up. So if I were to change any of the top element only, it would automatically move that down. Then we're going to sample a color from the client's logo, and we're going to change the font size. So to change the color, we're going to go to text. Now just remember that color refers to text color or font color if you're more familiar with that. Click on this. We're going to click on the eyedropper, and we're going to sample it over here and just hit the enter key. And notice that permanent exhibits changes, and only that because that's the only H1 tag on the page. And we'll change the font size to 30. And so we're going to make it 30px. And some people like to have their H1 tag centered. To me, I would center it. So I'm going to go one step further, and I'm just going to click on it here. It does center it. Again, that's not anything that needs to get done, but I just think it looks nicer. So that's up to you if you want to center it or not. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the H2 tag. So we're going to put in margin top 30, margin bottom 5. We're going to change the color, and we're going to do the font size. So what I'm going to do now is I need a new selector. And I'll just type in H2. And notice that this should be an H2 tag here. This should be an H2 tag here. So since you can see them both, I'm going to change the color right away, and you're going to see how it's going to affect both this one and this one. So I've got the H2 over here. I'm going to select the eyedropper, and I'll click somewhere here. And as soon as I hit the enter key, boom. So you can see this was changed and this was changed. So now I'll go back in order. So we want margin top 30. So we're going to go to layout. Make sure that this is not selected so it doesn't link them all. We'll put margin 30. So let's take a look at top over here what it does. Boom. See how it puts some space over here and it puts some space here. Margin bottom is going to be 5. And that really didn't look like it did anything. And font size 24. So we need PX, and we'll change it to 24. Boom. Doesn't look like it changed anything. Now, I wouldn't center this because we have this centered. So, but you might want to indent it. You can do that with padding or margin, either one. So now we're going to go to page 199, and we're going to create another tag for the H3. So let's look here. That's an H3. That's not an H3. So we're not sure. Let's see if this is an H3. Notice it changed this as well. So let's create a new selector, and we'll call it H3. Hit the enter key twice. And it wants margin top 0, margin bottom 15. So we go to the layout. Margin top is 0. So we can just click and hit enter. And you can see it move that on up a bit. And margin bottom will be 15. That takes care of that. We want the font style to be italic. And notice how it changed it to italic. And the font weight to 400. Now you would think it's going to make it darker. So sometimes it's not the same as what you think. So let's see what happens. It kind of looks like it's lighter. So we can change this to anything that we want. 500. You might like that better, but since the book says 400, let's do 400. And we've got that there. That takes care of number 5. And number 6, we're going to do the P tags. We're going to do margin top 0 and margin bottom 10. So I'm going to create a P tag, or I could click here and click on P and click on selector, but then I have to move all this stuff out here. That's good. And for the P tag, we want margin top 0, margin bottom 10. Go to layout, margin top 0, and margin bottom 10. Okay, now I did not go over this, so I'm going to go back right now and do it. So I'm going to read on the bottom of number 4 where it says content block elements such as headings and paragraphs have default top and bottom margins, which I did address, equivalent to the current font size. So if you have a 12-point font size, then you're going to have margins of 12 point in there. It's common to modify one or all of these by defining margins of 0 for H1 tags. Any subsequent paragraph or headings margins will determine the spacing between the elements. So always bear that in mind. You may have to change the margin of the elements that are below it just for now, don't worry about it. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So we've done number 6. And now we're moving to number 8. We're going to add a tag selector for the anchor tag. The anchor tags are your links, which is this. Now, you cannot change this because it's part of a template, but you can affect how it looks. So what we're going to do is number 8, we're going to add a property, rather a selector, just plain A. Pretty simple. We're going to sample the client's logo again. So we're going to go to the text color. And just to do something different, I'm going to choose something red. I really wouldn't do red, but just so it looks a little bit different, let's make it red. And as soon as I hit the enter key, it's changed. So to be consistent with the book, let's go over here. We'll sample something in here and boom. Okay, so now we have it with the book. We're going to make it bold, and we're going to do the text decoration, which I'll show you all of them. So we want the font weight will be bold. Notice it's bold. And then the text decoration, notice that's none, gets rid of the underline. This puts the underline back. This puts it on top. And this puts it through. You might not be able to see the top because of margins, but normally text decoration for links is either underlined or none, depending upon what you want. I'm going to save this. Now we're going to create some anchors. An anchor allows you to go to a specific area of a page. Normally you do that with back to top, or you might do that with the links. So let's go and create it. So we have a permanent exhibits open. We're going to turn off live view and show the page source. So we actually don't have live view, so that's easy to turn that off. And you can see it's kind of hard to find something. But I'll show you an easier way to do it. So the first thing is we want to go to the first H2 tag, and we're going to type in right after the bracket there, we're going to create another bracket. We're going to type A, name, equals masters. Another quote, and then a closing tag. And notice that as soon as I did the closing tag, it filled it in for me. So that gave me an actual anchor tag. If I go into design, you can see I have the anchor tag right there. And you could actually copy and paste that if you wanted to and just change the name. So now it's telling us that we need to get the other H2 elements on the page, which could be easy or it could be a pain. So what I'm going to do is show you a very easy way to do it. Click on Find, Find in a current document. And down over here, I'm going to type in H2. And it will find all of our H2 tags. So we have one here and there. So we'll do the same thing here. A, name, equals, and I believe it wants God's. And then we can do the same thing over here. And this one wants glass making. Good time to save everything. That was number 5. So it wants us to go into design pane and highlight the words Italian Masters. So we need to find Italian Masters, which just happens to be right here. So let's select it and go into code view, make sure it's selected, which it is. And I just finished 201. Let's go to 202, and we're going to create a hyperlink that's going to go to Masters. Really very easy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to insert a hyperlink. And for the link, we're going to use the drop-down box, and there's our anchors right over there. If it doesn't appear, check your spelling, check to see if you have a closing tag, something cosmetic. So since they appeared, that's a good thing. So now we have a link to it. Now notice the link automatically turned to the color of this because we have already redefined how we want our anchors and our hrefs to look. So that takes care of that one over here. Then we're going to do gods and heroes and glass making. So here's gods and heroes in art. And just to show you, it works the same if you do it here. And we're going to click on link. Oops. And notice it changed there. And then glass making. And we'll do it this way again. And glass making. That takes care of that. Now, one thing you may have noticed that I typed God instead of gods for the anchor. So if you want to change it, you can. However, remember that if you change it here, you have to change it in the link up here. So we need to change it here. That'll take care of that. And we'll save it. That takes care of number 10. Number 11 is we're going to create an anchor called top at the very top, which is right after the opening H1 tag, which is right here. Now, that means right after the actual tag itself. So let's go into code view. And this is the tag right here. Or you could put it right in front. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to type in a name, and we'll call it top. That takes care of that. So now we need to find the text that says back to top. And you'll find them over here. So we'll select this. And let's see if we can find back to top, which is not there. And a little trick is if it doesn't show, save it. So let's select it again. And we'll go to hyperlink. And there's top. That takes care of that. Let's see what it shows down here. Okay, so we don't have it there yet. Yes, we do. Okay, so that's good. So remember, if you don't see it down here, save it. So let's go to back to top. And let's see if we can find it from here, which we can. Takes care of that. And there should be another back to top. And we have top here. Pretty good. Now, I do want to caution you about something on this page. you have a lot of information going straight down here. And then you have barely anything here. So this is really not a very good example of how a web page should be set up. So the good thing about this doing it is you get to learn what not to do from time to time. So as well as what to do. Okay, so we've just paged 203, finished page 203, and now we're going to create a pseudo class selector. What that means is a combination of two selectors that are tied together. In other words, a anchor has, or a hyperlink has four states. One of it is just the link itself. One of it is hover when you have your mouse over it. One is visited. That means you've clicked on it and now you're back. And then you have active. That means you're over it and you're actually clicking it. And the way they should be defined is link first, then visited, then hover, then active. And the synonym for that is love-hate, LVHA. So all we're going to do right now is we're going to change the hover. I normally change all of them and just make the hover different because I want my link, I want my active, and I want my visited all to be the same. There's very few times that you're actually going to click over your hover and leave it down. You're just going to normally click. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new selector called A::hover. Very easy to do. Click on selectors, make sure this is here. So we'll type A. And notice it's already there. So we'll just select hover or hover, depending upon what you want to do. And boom. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to change the color. Let's just change the color to something different. And let's make it red. I'll just choose that there. Boom. All right, so we'll go into live view. And we'll go over it. And notice it changes to red. So that means whenever the mouse is over it, hover or hover, change the color to red. So let's go and just do one step further. And let's change the text decoration to underline. And let's change the font style to italic. And you can see what it does. So you can see it changes. And that's really all we need to do for this tutorial. I will be finishing up on the next one where we actually create a figure and a caption. And we create some other selectors called descendant selectors. And that's one I was telling you about, that you have a tag or a selector that's inside something else. Okay, have a wonderful day.